In 2004, a woman made a strange post on a Japanese internet forum. She claimed she was trapped at a train station that didn't exist. The station's name was Kisaragi Station. What happened next became one of Japan's most famous internet horror stories. The story unfolded live, post by post, while people online watched in real time. She said she had fallen asleep on a train while going home late at night. The train had been moving for a long time. Longer than it should have. When she finally woke up, the train had stopped at a quiet station. She looked outside the window. The platform was empty, completely silent. She stepped off the train. The doors closed behind her. Moments later, the train left the station. Now she was alone. She looked at the station sign. Kisaragi Station. She had never heard that name before. At first, she thought nothing of it. Maybe she had simply gone too far on the train. But something felt wrong. There were no other passengers. No station staff. The lights were on, but the station felt strangely abandoned. Minutes passed. No trains arrived. Feeling uneasy, she took out her phone and began posting on the forum. "I'm at a station called Kisaragi, but I've never heard of it before." People online quickly replied. Some told her to check the train line. Others thought it might be a joke. She checked a map on her phone. But the station didn't exist. No railway line had a station called Kisaragi. The replies on the forum became more serious. Some users began to worry. Then she posted something strange. "I can hear drums in the distance." No one knew what she meant. The sound continued for several minutes. Soon after that, she said she saw a strange old man standing near the tracks. The man didn't speak. He just stood there in the dark. Feeling scared, she decided to leave the station and walk along the railway. People online told her it might lead to another station. So she started walking down the tracks. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Her messages slowly became more desperate. "I think something is wrong. I'm still walking. I can hear something behind me." After that message, there was no reply. Her posts suddenly stopped. She was never heard from again. That was the basic story of Kisaragi Station. But the real mystery begins here. At the time, the internet was far less common than it is today. So why did this story spread so widely? And even after more than 20 years, why does it still continue to frighten people in Japan? Let's take a closer look. First question, did this really happen? No one knows whether the woman who disappeared at Kisaragi Station ever truly existed. But one thing is certain. The posts themselves were real. The original poster was there, writing messages in real time, and hundreds of replies appeared as people reacted to the situation. At the same time, hundreds, possibly close to 1,000, people were watching the thread unfold. The story was posted on a Japanese anonymous message board. The thread appeared on January 8, 2004. In an online forum dedicated to paranormal discussions. The title of the thread was roughly "Live Reporting If Strange Things Happen Around You, Thread 26. The posts began around 11:14 p.m. and continued until about 2 a.m. In other words, the story unfolded in real time. Imagine using the internet in a time before modern social media existed. No Twitter. No Instagram. Just anonymous message boards. And then you discover a thread like this. Someone is claiming they are trapped at a train station that shouldn't exist. If you had been there that night, you might have thought the same thing many others did. Is this really happening? And you might not have been able to resist replying yourself. What people experienced that night was a kind of horror story created entirely through text. Another reason this story spread so widely lies in the culture of the Japanese internet at the time. In the early 2000s, modern social media did not exist yet. Instead, many people gathered on anonymous message boards. On these sites, users didn't use real names, there were no profiles, no personal accounts, just anonymous posts. Because of this, the communities were mostly filled with internet enthusiasts and hobbyists. These forums had a unique culture. When someone posted about a strange experience, other users would respond immediately. They asked questions, made jokes, or sometimes gave advice. As the conversation continued, something interesting would happen. A story would begin to form, created collectively by many different people. This kind of collaborative storytelling was a common part of Japanese message board culture. In fact, around the same time, another story from an anonymous message board became a huge cultural phenomenon in Japan. It was a romantic story known as Densha Otoko, or Train Man. That story later became a best-selling book, a movie, and a television drama. It helped introduce anonymous internet forums to the wider public. But the story of Kisaragi Station was very different. It wasn't a romance. It was an unfinished horror story. So why does this story continue to scare people even today? One reason is the way the story moves from the ordinary to the completely strange. At the beginning, everything feels normal. A woman is simply riding a train home. Falling asleep on a train is something that can happen to anyone, but when she wakes up, she finds herself at a station that shouldn't exist. This sudden shift from everyday life to the unknown creates a powerful sense of fear. Another reason is the unique structure of the story. One person is experiencing something terrifying. Meanwhile, hundreds of others are watching it happen in real time. The people on the forum are safe behind their screens, yet they are still connected to the person in danger. It almost feels as if the horror is unfolding right in front of them. The setting also plays an important role. A train station is a very familiar place. Almost everyone has been to one. Normally, it is a safe and crowded environment. But in this story, the station is completely empty. And it doesn't exist on any map. The story also has no clear ending. The woman's posts suddenly stop. And no one ever learns what happened to her. Was it a bad ending, or something even stranger? And then there are the unexplained details, the sound of drums in the distance, the mysterious old man standing near the tracks. None of these things are ever explained. And sometimes, what we don't understand is the most frightening thing of all. The story of Kisaragi Station began with a single thread on an internet forum in 2004. But the story did not end there. Even today, people on the internet still claim to have experienced something similar. Some say they have seen a station that doesn't appear on any map. Others claim they have heard strange sounds near railway tracks late at night. Of course, many of these stories are probably fictional. But over time, Kisaragi Station has become one of Japan's most famous urban legends. The story became so well known that it was eventually adapted into a horror film. In 2022, a movie titled Kisaragi Station, 2022 film, was released in Japan. Think about that for a moment. A mysterious post on an anonymous message board has turned into a story that people are still talking about more than 20 years later. And who knows? Maybe somewhere on the internet right now, someone is writing a message that says, "I'm at Kisaragi Station." If you enjoyed Japanese horror stories like this, consider subscribing. And if this story gave you chills, leave a like.